in a very odd way, it feels like a Shark Tank. Been in the company for 6 years, it doesn't feel like grilling, but somebody who's new in the company, they'll actually feel like they've been grilled and they will feel that pressure. A pitch that we went to Meta with about 24 months ago. The product allows you to interact with the business within the WhatsApp chat and complete the payment natively within the chat. Just about the time you're trying to kickstart the project, Meta went through a series of layoffs and that got parked for about 6-9 months.
My name is Mona, and I'm the founder at Upraised. We run the series called Raise the Bar, where we have conversations with product leaders, try to debug and demystify the world of product management. As you all know, it's a role that has many dimensions, and the dimensions change depending on the organization you're at, the stage of the company that you're working in, the kind of products you're building, who your target audience is. So there's a lot of variables in this role, and for majority of us, we've not there is I'd say for 100% of us, there is no formal degree called undergrad in product management. So we kind of learn by doing, and the goal is to kind of learn from the people who've been there, done that, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we can shorten our learning cycles. So that's the objective of this series. Today I'm super excited to have Siddharth here. Siddharth, like Aries mentioned, has many years of experience, both in India and abroad. And Razorpay is one of those companies. Every time they launch a product, I'm always amazed at how obvious the problem was, and how nice the solution is. So I'm very, very excited to learn more about how Razorpay does that. But the first thing I want to start by is, Siddharth, you mentioned you were an accidental PM. Tell me more. Tell us more. How did that accident happen, and what has your journey been since then?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Hi, folks. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so let's start with the question on accidental PM, right? So this was actually 2 years after my MBA in the US. So it was actually I did my MBA. I was prepping myself to be a consultant, and wanted to work with the big four, right? So either a Deloitte or a EY, right? And I was prepping myself to get there. And I was part of a small boutique consulting firm. And I was working on a project doing a lot of business analysis, a lot of data analysis. I was happy doing that because I thought that was my path to become a consultant, one of the big fours, right? And I think 2 years down the line, we were on a project, and our project manager that time had just resigned, and they wanted somebody to step up and take a role for project manager. And we were actually working on building products for one of the state governments. So I had an option of actually either continuing what I want to do, or becoming a project manager. And I could kind of sense that my founder of the company was nudging me to become a project manager. And it kind of looked like that either I had to take that option, or probably not make my way too long in the company, right? So yeah, that's how I became a project manager. I was kind of pushed into it. Eventually, 6 months down the line, that project manager role became actually a product manager role, because we pivoted into building products and selling a lot of SaaS tools to the federal and state government in the US. So yeah, it was actually by chance, not by choice. I was well prepared to go into Big Four doing consulting, and realize 6 months down the line that I'm doing product management. In fact, not even realizing I was doing product management. Actually, an year or two, I was talking to one of my colleagues, and I was describing them my role. And I would describe my role as a project manager, like, you're not a project manager, actually, you're a product manager. So yeah, it took me even a year or two to even realize that I actually became a product manager. So yeah, again, completely by chance, not by choice. But I'm glad that journey happened, because now it's been 12 years since I'm a product manager.
Wow. How has your journny evolved in the last few years that you've been at Razorpay? Tell us more about that compared to the journey when you started. So what did that evolution look like?
Yeah, absolutely right. Razorpay, I think, has been a roller coaster. I've absolutely really enjoyed my journey at Razorpay, and I continue to do so. I think it's been 6 years, right? I think in the current day and age, I think 6 years in a company it's almost a point where I think folks even move on to either a job 2 or a job 3, right? So it's been a really amazing journey. I've really enjoyed a lot of it, and I think the enjoyment actually stems from 2 or 3 reasons, right? One is, I think, the founders of the company are extremely ambitious, right? You can almost sense the ambition from them, and I think it's extremely infectious. where I think they're able to almost, spread their energy across the entire leadership team, right? And I've had the opportunity to actually work closely with them because when I joined the company, I joined as PM number two. At that time, the Razorpay was just about maybe 80, 90, 100 employees. And now Razorpay is about 4,000 employees, right? So obviously, I've seen the journey from 100 employees to 4,000. But I think thoroughly enjoying it, continue to enjoy it. Yeah, like I said, a lot of ambitious energy and a lot of, I think, challenges as well, right? So I think it's one of the roles where, despite after being there for 6 years, probably having dabbled my hands into a lot of things that folks are probably interact with today, I continue to be challenged, I continue to be pushed hard, right? So I think that's probably been the key differentiator of why I've been in Razorpay for 6 years, and a little and some difference of how my previous roles have been my other PM afters.
That's awesome. I think Razorpay has obviously been one of the most looked up companies in the fintech space because of both, like you said, at the scale of the product, the integration of the product in the ecosystem. I mean, it's like at this point ubiquitous to any payment gateway, right? Wherever I go, I see a Razorpay option to pay. And also the scale of the team, how large the team is now, right? So what does the product culture at Razorpay look like? What are the different types of PMs at Razorpay? How is the org structured, and what kind of problem statements do you guys solve?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, right? So I'll tell you how the PM role has evolved at Razorpay, right? So I think largely been probably three major pivots, right? So when I joined early, there was about 4 or 5 of us, right? There the job was of PM was almost, there's a problem, throw a PM at it, right? A problem could be building a new feature, a problem could be a customer escalation, a problem could be, doing some research, trying to deep dive on competition. It was very simple. There's a problem, throw a PM at it, right? That was, and I think that was what Shashank used to do, where when there's a problem, he would throw himself at it. And I think when he hired the first set of PMs, he threw PMs at it, right? So that was largely the role. There was actually no competency framework, no matrix, no OKRs, no structure, and that is how the journey was. I would say for my first 1 to 2 years at Razorpay, right? Then I think 2 years down the line was kind of when we pivoted, that I think we now have about 10, 12 odd PMs. It's time to bring in competencies, right? But even there, obviously, we were like, it's early days. It's okay not to be so evolved. It's okay to maybe just copy paste competencies from some other company, right? So we looked at Google, looked at Flipkart, looked at Amazon, the typical, product companies that you're aware of India, right? And we just brought in those competencies, right? And we brought in new levels, because initially when I joined, there was no level. Everybody's a product manager. So we brought in levels like product managers, product manager, director, and VP, right? In fact, we brought director and VP, titles, but nobody was there in the director or VP title. It was just the product manager and a couple of senior product managers. So yeah, that was our I think a first step of trying to build in some structure in the product management team, trying to build some competencies, trying to bring some levels, and also trying to define the role that, what does a PM really look like? What are the goals that they really own, right? But what we largely did, that the role was purely defined on the product areas, right? So the only thing we could do, that they are assigned to a product area, and you could probably take on some micro goals that, certain traffic growth or certain experience growth, reducing support tickets, trying to acquire new purchases, right? So again, but it was more the definition of what the goal was largely left to the PM. The PM should define what does success mean, right? Now, I think that experience kind of lasted about 2-3 years again. So I think about 18 months ago is when we took a very drastic shift. Because by that time, the PM strength from 12 to 15 had become almost nearly 100. So we nearly, I think, 5x, I think, grew by 5x in a matter of, I think, 24 months. And realized that I think we now need to really rethink what a PM role is, really make a difference. And I think largely the thought process of Shashank, right, and a few of the VPs and SCPs products was largely from a lens that if the company has to grow 10, 15, 20x from here, right, the one role which can actually make a lot of difference in the journey is a product manager among one or two more roles, right? So it's extremely important to really do a good job defining of a PM role, really deploying how they contribute to the company's growth. So now the role is very different. In fact, the role in some shape or form almost is like a general manager, right? The PM is accountable not just for building products, but the PM is also accountable for driving revenue of the products that they build. right? So yeah, that's largely changed, which means that PMs are now have to truly understand what does the market want, why does the market want this, what is the competition doing, and how do I make a dent in the market despite competition, being out there and probably being strong out there, right? Or let's say if I'm building something new, right? What is my opportunity? What does growth path look like? What is some early signs or signals we're working on to actually take on that bet, right? So again, now the role has evolved. Not just building product, the role has evolved to how can this product add revenue to the charter, to the group, to the pod, to the company.
So will you say that you are basically now sort of most PMs are focused on monetization?
Actually, slightly different. Right? So I would say it's monetization, yes, but I think it also evolves in terms of what kind of a charter you own, right? So keep in mind that let's say if you are a 0 to 1, if you're a 0 to 1 PM, right, then your role is largely to get in the first 10, 20, 30, 100, 500 customers, right? So there it's more growth. You're trying to build.
So how many? So let's use. What are the total number of PMs you have at Razorpay today?
So about 120 odd PMs across all levels.
Out of 120 odd PMs, how many PMs work on, let's say, 0 to 1 problem statements?
I would say about 25% of the PMs work on 0 to 1 statement. And that's largely because Razorpay still believes that we still need to continue experiment and still make continued bets. So we do have a 25% strand that works on these kind of areas.
Yeah. And so for them, the KPI is just kind of adoption and innovation, right? Like how do you find new areas of opportunity and how do you test whether there's product market fit for them?
Absolutely, right. And I think there are multiple metrics, right? So, a simple metric would be the number of businesses who are using this product, right?
Yes.
There could be some others, and if your product, if you're positive actually making revenue, then yes, there'll be, certain kind of revenue numbers we'll look at. We'll also look at things like, what does experience looking like? So we look at, support tickets, that if you have customers in the product, how many support tickets are coming your way? Because too many support tickets, there's a high chance of churn. And that would indicate that what you have built is great and it fits the market, but there are still challenges to it. So how can we create a 10x experience?
Makes sense.
So yeah, that's largely the lens of a 0 to 1.
Got it. And then what do the other 75%? What is the breakup of the other 75% of the 120 PMs?
Yeah. So the other 75 PMs, I would say then another 25% would be working on 1 to 10 products. And then we have 50% who are working on 10 to 100, right? Again, the reason why we have so many PMs working 10 to 100 because we want to make sure that a revenue making products continue to make a lot more revenue and continue to spread their wings in newer segments and newer geographies.
Correct. And you are part of the 10 to 100 or?
So I am part of, interesting question, right? So out of the 4 product lines that I own, 1 product line is 10 to 100. In fact, I said 2 product lines is 10 to 100. And 2 of them, I would say 0 to 1 or 1 to 10 is debatable, right? I have my own views. Shashank has his own views. But they're kind of, either PMF or early PMF.
Awesome. That's interesting. So I just want to highlight one thing, which is slightly unique from a few other orgs, which is if I speak to the PM org at, let's say, Swiggy, right? I don't think there is a person like you who has both, who's both working on 0 to 1 product as well as 1 to 10 product or a 10 to 100 product at the same time. Typically, PMs tend to focus. And I think one of the things that makes this structure unique, one of the big pros of this structure is somebody like Siddharth, who has been there for a long time and has that much context, can actually contribute in multiple areas. And because of this structure, his ability to contribute in these areas is very, very possible. Because of the other structure, even if you had context, you're just isolated from it, and hence innovation gets slower. And I think this is one of the secret sauces of Razorpay that I just want to kind of highlight, which is I think there are a lot of PMs at Razorpay. There are a few PMs at Razorpay that have been around for a very long time, that have the context of the journey that Razorpay has gone through. And today they own multiple initiatives of different sizes at different stages of the evolution of the product. That makes the org structure at Razorpay extremely unique. I was speaking to Gaurav and Shashank, and they were sharing a little bit about sort of also the performance review system at Razorpay, which is very unique. Can you share a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like I said, right, because we put a lot of I think we put a lot of expectations on the PM role. So I think performance review of the PM role at Razorpay is probably the most stringent I've seen, not just within India but globally, right? So as you level up, let's say from owning one charter to multiple charters, and you become a people manager, or let's say you become a manager of, let's say, a group of products, right? What I'm today. So my performance review, in fact, uh, is I think largely built on what do my cross-functional leaders think about me and my capabilities and my ability to take this charters to, let's say, 10x from here, right? So while I think generally PMs work really well with PEDs or product engineering and design function, and they almost are buddy buddies with these function. Where I think they're not buddy buddies with, in most cases, is business, marketing, or operations, right? So in fact, as you scale up, your ability to influence these stakeholders will matter, at least I would say, a lot more versus the ability to influence your PED function. So that is the difference where, in fact, what my cross-functional peers think about me will matter a lot more than my PED function peers.
Yes. And I just want to also highlight one aspect, which I think maybe because you're on the inside, you might not feel like it's very unique, is like you said, for you, one of your KPIs, how effectively can you cross-collaborate, right? Because, just as the nature of getting anything shipped for a product manager, they have to work with designers, they have to work with engineers, they have to work with business leaders, they have to work with marketing. And while Siddharth has a team of people who can create the right set, can prioritize the right features, can understand where the opportunity lies, ultimately to get it executed, they need the cross-collaborative effort across teams. And I think that is the role of Siddharth to kind of enable that and remove the roadblocks. So it makes sense that your KPIs are like this, but there are a lot of companies, like Siddharth also said, where the performance review isn't 360 in that context. And hence you kind of get like a slighter view. Cool. I want to go into a little bit of detail. Can you tell us a little bit about how products are built at Razorpay? Like, let's say the 0 to 1 journey, right? What does it look like inside Razorpay?
So
maybe you can take example of one of the products that you are kind of working on.
So I think even that. So I think a lot of it depends on the nature of the PM, right? And I think so. I think you. So I'll talk about a product called Payment Pages, right? This is actually something that my team had launched 2018, I believe, 2018 or early 2019, right? That was actually purely was a very simple insight, right? So we had this product called Payment Links. So it's a very agent-driven model that if you're an agent, you probably are selling on a call, you will send a payment link to complete the order, right? Works very well in insurance space, works very well in education space, tuition space, maybe some SaaS space, right? But what was happening, a lot of these customers were saying that, is there a way that my agent can send a single link for multiple payments, right? I don't want to send the same link. I don't want to send a new link for each customer, because managing that's complicated, and and at scale, trying to educate new agents, trying to bring it is just very complicated. Can you simplify this? So that was it. Actually, that was the only insight. We just saw that hundreds and hundred customers came to us, asked us a product where instead of sending a new link per customer, can you just send the same link for our customers? Because a lot of them actually have only 3 or 4 SKUs. Not a lot of companies will have like a Swiggy, where you can't really do this. You need like 1,000 SKU product. You have very simple SKUs, right? It was a very simple insight. So that is how Payment Pages was born. That we just allowed them to create a simple link. You can add some content, add some graphics, add some text, add some certain data points and fields to collect, and that's it. Page is live, right? So we actually launched that, and I think it actually was one of the hackathon projects, because I was not getting the right prioritization, because I thought I can hack my way through it, trying to get a team in 4 or 5 weeks. But then I was kind of getting a lot of pushback. We need to talk to more customers, talk to more research, do a lot of that. So I was like, okay, like if I do this, I may spend a couple of months, and rightly so. But then if I hack my way through it, maybe I can kind of get some early win. So there was a hackathon that was coming up in a few weeks. I got a team together. 2 weeks in, we launched the product. And within a matter of 2 months, we were able to get 500 customers. And in fact, all of them were paid customers, because the way how Razorpay earns revenue for every transaction that happens, we make money, right? That was it. So that was I would say, a hack turned into a product, now contributing nearly about 5% of company's revenue, right? So essentially, that
was the core insight. Where did you find the core insight? How did you find that core insight?
The core insight actually was support tickets. Where you're getting a lot of support tickets. asking them that, hey, I tried to send a payment link, and a new customer got the same payment link, they couldn't pay. Because a lot of customers didn't realize that the payment link is a one-time link, right? For every customer, you have to send a new link. So we got a bunch of support tickets. I remember even seeing a couple of tweets. So AirTribe's founder, actually put a tweet out there that I'm trying to set up a new page for education. I don't want to spend time integrating. I don't want to spend time integrating a new payment gateway. Can you simply create a link for me? And that was the other insight that there are a lot of SaaS company founders trying to launch a unique page for events. So yeah, that was an interesting insight. And like I said, I wanted to kind of hack my way through launching the product. And I would say not and bypass, I would say, the traditional trajectory of talking to 100 customers, building the research, trying to create a business creating a projection plan, do a lot of that. I thought that can I hack my way through building it? So the hackathon was kind of where I saw my opportunity. I built it, got a team together. I think a week or 10 days, 2 weeks tops. We launched a very hacky product, but that was enough to get 500 customers, enough to actually get the funding that now actually it's working. We need to invest formally into it. So then I think was able to make a case for 2 PMs to come in the team to build the product natively, go a lot deeper, then go deeper into various segments, sectors. So yeah, that was the interesting insight. But like I said, that's not a typical product at Razorpay. I know it sounds easy because typical products at Razorpay works very differently, right? You have to do a lot of research. You have to really build a strong case of why this investment makes sense. Because investments is not something you will do only for 6 months, right? If you're investing in something, you have to at least create an assumption that you are in it for 3 years, right? So you have to create a plan that how many team members you need, number of product managers, engineers, design, support, operations, business. What does the revenue opportunity look like? Are we doing it for more revenue, or are we doing it for, let's say, reduce our churn? Are we doing it just to take on a new market, a new segment? Are we doing it to contain a competition? What are the 2-3 reasons why we're doing this, right? And you've seen a bunch of business cases being put in that get declined, and largely because there are other business cases that have a stronger potential ROI. So yeah, like I said, that's the typical trajectory.
So let's say you have a business. So let's say you have a product idea, you're a product manager, you have an idea, you find that through customer support tickets, whatever the thought process is. Then you start identifying what the opportunity size is, right, of this idea, how much either growth, revenue, retention, what can it contribute to? Right. Then what do you do? Who do you present this to?
So, I think I'll say that getting to this insight can take anywhere between 30 days to 90 days to maybe 180 days, right? Depends on the complexity of the idea you're trying to pitch, right? Maybe like some simpler ideas which are easy to pitch, you probably may journey faster because you don't have to spend time explaining the idea. The idea just kind of sticks by itself, right? Like payment pages was one which is very easy to explain. I didn't really have to spend time building, talking about why payment pages, right? Or what is payment pages. But there's some ideas where you have to even spend time telling people what this is. So yeah, like I said, the journey of building this case, and I think largely it's not about what you will build, it's more about why you will build this, right? I think that's a larger difference in building a business case, that why are you doing this? And it's also why now, right? Is it, do we have to do it right now, or can we wait 12 months, right? What is changing in the market where there's super urgency today and why it can't wait 12 months, right? So which is why the lens of, customers wanting the lens of, competition getting to it, the lens of maybe new opportunities in the market, the lens of, let's say, COVID happened, right? So COVID happened and the entire market dynamic changed, right? The entire view of how the Indian ecosystem interacts financially changed overnight, right? Are these black swan events that requires you to rethink all your hypothesis, right? So what's really happening in the market that's pushing us to drive this? So I think that business case, it's lots more on the why and not so much on the what, right? But let's say, the why, largely the way to build the case is, we have to present the case to 3-4 leaders. Obviously, our CEOs and CPOs, so Shashank and Harshil, who are the 2 co-founders. There is Rahul, who is a CBO. And then there is Kilan, who is an SVP products, right? So these are the 4 bare minimum. They may choose to bring in more audience. If let's say there's an area that they think they're not comfortable deep diving on, there's somebody else who's explained. Let's say if you're trying to build something on risk side, maybe they'll be an expert who knows risk and identity. You're trying to build something that's in cross-border space. They may bring in a business leader who really understands cross-border, right? So they may bring in certain leaders who understand the space really well, who can actually do a good job asking the tough questions. And trust me, in a very odd way, it feels like a Shark Tank. Because
Yeah,
you are,
I was just going to say, it almost feels like you're a founder inside a large org
and
asking
it
for
really
investment.
is, and it really is, right? You actually are pitching your case, and the good thing is, because I have actually been in the company for 6 years, it doesn't feel like grilling. But somebody who's new in the company, they'll actually feel like they've been grilled, and you'll see them sweating, you'll see them face turning red, you'll see them fumbling, because they will feel that pressure. You have 4 CXOs and plus the army of their experts on one side of the table. You are on the other side of the table with a projector, trying to dodge all the questions coming your way, right? And like I said, that session can last anywhere between 30 minutes to 120 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
But the good thing is,
it's definitely more intense than Shark Tank.
but the good thing is, if it's lasting 120 minutes, most likely they're liking what they're seeing. Otherwise, they would not spend so much time.
Correct. That's right. And so now let's say Harshil, Shashank say all good to go, awesome. Then how does this come to life? What happens?
So the first thing is obviously we need to have a budget in place. So that takes a couple of weeks. So Arpit, who the CFO, has to release a budget. He has his own series of questions on budgeting. How will that work? And his philosophy is largely is that can we repurpose some other team to build this, right? I don't want to hire new people. Because hiring new people mean LPs by overhead, and the chance of failure becomes tougher, right?
Correct.
So obviously you're trying to navigate that battle, that because if you move an existing team to something else, that allows you to run faster. But if you do hiring, right, then that can take anywhere between 3 months to 6 months, right? So you're trying to navigate that. In some cases, you're able to get the benefit of getting the team, immediately, maybe even 30 days. In some teams, you actually have to build a team, right? So one of the products that I actually was working on right now, actually I had to build a team. So it took me about almost 120 days to kind of kickstart that journey, right? So again, it depends, but like I said, getting the team in place is the most important thing. And largely what I do is, the most important person I end up hiring is like the PM. So I end up putting my maximum energy trying to get the best in class PM in the team, so that the PM actually can help me start navigating some of these challenges, right? In terms of at least writing the first set of product specs, trying to maybe even play the role of an EM, because sometimes they may just give you a couple of engineers without an EM. So you have to be the role of EM. But so a lot of that depends. But like I said, the first thing I do is getting a PM who can help me, let's say, share some load with me, where I can focus on, let's say, the org battles, and the PM can focus on the work battles.
Awesome. So I'm curious in terms of sort of, you guys recently did this WhatsApp integration, right? Where you've launched an embedded payment solution for WhatsApp, and you were part of the core team. Would love to understand, what is the core problem that you're trying to solve with this product, and what does the product development process look like for a product like this, right? Which is so ubiquitous at very large scale from the get-go. So how did you even think about the problem statement? How did you launch it? And what was that cycle like?
Absolutely, right. So this actually, this journey of working with Meta actually started 24 months ago. And so this is not something, right?
Maybe you can just give a one-liner on what the product does so that everybody
Yeah. So what the product does is allows you to interact with the business within the WhatsApp chat and complete the payment natively within the chat, right? So and natively, not just on UPI, but you can pay via card, net banking, Zest Money, wallets and whatnot, right? So it feels like that you never left WhatsApp. You complete the pay within WhatsApp, and your entire order, transaction, conversation journey within WhatsApp. So I'll give you a very interesting example. So today, I can actually go to Bangalore Metro. I can simply scan a QR code. This QR code actually is a small chatbot. It opens a chatbot. You can actually select my starting train, my starting station is this. My end station is this. It will give you the a trigger to make the payment. You make the payment within the app itself, and the app will and the WhatsApp chat will issue you a QR code, and the QR code is now your ticket. So you never left the WhatsApp chat. Your entire journey of selecting the metro stations, was within the app. You even complete the payment within the app. A lot of times, people choose credit card or debit cards or wallets because, they're preferential instruments beyond just UPI. And that's it, right? So your entire discovery, the conversation, your transaction plus all happens within WhatsApp. Right. So this is a great example. Even JioMart, right? JioMart, actually, you can order your groceries within the WhatsApp app, right? Yes. So you can go to WhatsApp, you can select your groceries, you can give it your address, you can complete the payment, and once the order is done, it'll actually give you confirmation the order is out in this way, right? Again, you've never left the WhatsApp app. So yeah, that's the journey. That's the journey. It's what Meta calls this as conversational commerce. So largely the pitch, right? So largely the pitch, was actually a pitch that we went to Meta with about 24 months ago, right? And I think the pitch was very simple, right? India has about 400 million WhatsApp users, right? In a lot of devices, actually, it also now comes pre-installed, right? I think a lot of Android devices, a lot of OEMs, they even send pre-installed, right? Which means this number is only going to grow. And the only way to really create a solid push towards digital payments, digital embedment, is to give them access to modes of payment where the audience is, right? Right. So rather than trying to look at distributing cards, trying to build mobile apps and whatnot, right? WhatsApp is almost like a ubiquitous app for everybody, right? Like I said, all OEMs now have WhatsApp almost pre-installed, right? How do we bring in payments within conversation, right? And the reason why this pitch was made to them largely because because WhatsApp was picking up in India, a lot of businesses were actually conversing with their customers via WhatsApp, right? Simple things, right? A Flipkart delivery guy comes in, your OTP of Flipkart delivery actually came on WhatsApp, right? Let's say your insurance, right? Insurance, you're buying insurance policy. Somebody actually will send you a payment link on WhatsApp. While the payment link will take you outside of WhatsApp, but they still prefer the fact the customer will listen to me and look at my message within WhatsApp, right? And stats are very simple, right? The read rate on SMS is 20%. The read rate in WhatsApp is 98%, right? It's 5x, right? Math just speaks for itself, right? So we wanted to kind of pitch to WhatsApp that how can we embed conversation with commerce, and that's why the conversation commerce pitch came in, right? So we went all the way. We had a chat with Meta folks. We built a proper business case with them. In fact, I think Shashank, flew into Bay Area, met Mark Zuckerberg as well, right? For among many more topics, this was one of the topics that he had a discussion as well, right? So that was the larger background. So I think mid 21 is when the journey started. It took them 1 year to kind of digest what's going on. And I think, unfortunately, what was happening is just about the time we were trying to kickstart the project, Meta went through a series of layoffs. So then that kind of got parked for about 6-9 months. So it's only, I think, beginning of this year, or I would say around Jan-Feb this year, when we truly kickstart the project, that yes, we are now good to go. We have the funding, we have the approval, we have the right business case, we have the right audience, we have the good GTM plan as well, and the right environment, right? Everything's in place. We can now kickstart this, right? So that was, like I said, 18 months to build the business case and 6 months to build it, right? That's why I said, it's not the what that's more important, it's the why that's more important. So it took us 18 months to kind of convince them on the why.
And this is a very good example of the more high stake game you're playing, the longer it takes to build the business, and actually less to build it, because things have at multiple levels. That journey of 18 months sticking to the plan and constantly keeping in touch, trying to figure out whether it will work or not work, with a lot of ambiguity, is actually the difference of patience that larger scale companies have compared to startups, right? Startups can't hold on to it for too many months, so they kind of move on and go to the next problem statement, and they kind of figure out another jugaad system to solve it, versus a company like Razorpay can actually stick on to it and hold on to the conversation for 18 months. I think ultimately kind of ends up becoming the differentiator, because when it launches, because of the scale of the two parties involved, the initial launch in itself is a scaled launch, right? It's not a small size launch. So that's awesome. There's one thing that I've commonly heard, a lot of Razorpay PMs at Upraised, actually, there are a few PMs at Razorpay that Upraised has placed. And they always tell me one thing that is very unique about Razorpay is this whole idea of writing a PR or a PR FAQ, which is like a PR meaning like a press release or a press
Yes.
release FAQ, which basically describes what they want. If they were to launch that product, how would they actually market it,
Right.
or how they want the PR to be released about the product. So
Right.
can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is great, and I think you were right on point. PR FAQ has now become almost a muscle memory for every Razorpay PM.
Yeah.
And for somebody who has just joined the company, we make sure it's a muscle memory in 6 months,
Yes.
right? So I think but PR. So let me tell you what a PR FAQ is, and I'll go into the why we think it's important. So PR FAQ is a concept that we adopted from Amazon. So Amazon started this. In fact, Jeff Bezos started this, nearly 2 decades ago. So well beyond even before Razorpay even existed. I think I was in undergrad. Shashank and Harshil probably were in school, right? So that's that's the background of when consider PRFQ started in by Amazon, in Amazon by Jeff Bezos. Uh, it largely answers 3-4 questions. It is what you are building, who are you building for, what is the value proposition, and what next, right? So it helps you answer these 4 questions. It restricts you to answer these 4 questions in max of 2 pages, right? And you can't play out with the font. So it's a very clear. It has to be Times New Roman, size 10. This is the boundary. So you can't hack your way that I can convert 4 pages to 2-page doc, make it like a 5 font and some very weird direction, right? So it's very clear, Times New Roman. It has to have a header with a title, right? So it needs to have a title. It needs to also have a tagline. So you have a tagline, have a title, have a tagline, and two pages maximum to answer these 4 questions. And that is what we fundamentally use to actually see as an early sign that do we really need to build this? Is this an area of worth investment, right? So a lot of times we actually prioritize projects basis on PR facts. And a lot of debate happens on PR facts on, is this something worth investing in? And I think it's worked well in most cases. I think we've failed ourselves as well, where we saw that it was a bad opportunity, but then the market turned out to be a great opportunity. But that's okay, right? You'll end up making some mistakes somewhere. But so far, I think it's worked well because it helps us truly question ourselves that is this really worth investing? Like I said, the why more important, not the what, right? Because when you're building a concept note will even 20-30 pages, and you can explain what in all details. But that PRFAQ on the why we're trying to build and for whom and what is the value proposition is very important, right? Until you can't explain that, ideally you should not be spending time investing in it, right? And it's okay for you to keep rewriting it 10-20 times, right? So we tell a lot of PMs. So in fact we had couple of my PR facts also have gone through 6 or 7 iterations, because I wrote one, I've gotten some inputs, then I wrote a V2, then I got more input, then I wrote a V3, and again more inputs, right? So in fact, PR facts, I think so far in history of Razorpay, I must have given maybe 120, 130 odd PR facts, including not the most unique, but just in all total, right? So you can see an average that I'm writing 20 PR facts every year, right?
So I actually brought this up because I want people that are on this call to realize that this is one of the unique things about Razorpay. If you're ever going to apply to Razorpay, quick thing you can do to yourself to up your resume and move up your priority queue is write a PR FAQ or a PR release for a feature you think Razorpay should launch to showcase that you are going to be a great PM addition at the company. Actually, every one of our Upraised folks who have made it to Razorpay have written that, and that's how they made it there. So this is just a little secret that you guys should know about Razorpay. Razorpay is very unique in that it's not as appreciated elsewhere. It's also not as rigorous elsewhere, but at Razorpay it's extremely rigorous, and I've seen that the quality bar for a good PR facts and the 2-pager is extremely high. And I think the reason it's worked for them is because of that high quality, right? Because they go through these iterations and then they ask you all these hard questions and really, is this what you want the user to do? Is this going to really help your business case? Is this more important than the next PR release that somebody else has written?
Right.
Because of these questions, you end up prioritizing the right things, which is a very sort of untraditional way of prioritizing. A lot of other companies, product companies kind of tend to prioritize just basis the opportunity size and less sort of GTM. And I think what Razorpay does uniquely is this. And I hope you guys leave this feeling excited about the culture at Razorpay. And if you had any aspirations of being at Razorpay, I hope you get this one tidbit where you start to think about a product you can release for Razorpay and what would that PR release look like, and give it a shot to actually write it. Cool. I'm going to shoot 4 quick questions.
Okay.
And I will open it up for Q&A. Number one is, if you were hiring, you said every time you launch a 0 to 1 or a 1 to 10 product, the team is the most important thing for you. What are the 3 core skills you're looking for in a PM that you're hiring for your team?
So their ability to show high ownership, which means that willingness to wear multiple hats. That is one. Really good documentation skills, extremely important, almost a non-negotiable. And C, like I said, willing to stand up in a room and being able to answer tough questions.
Guys, all these 3 are going to get exhibited the minute you write a PR FAQ to showcase, to add to your resume. It shows that you've taken ownership to build and think something new, that you can document well and communicate your thoughts, and that you can stand in a room and present a new idea. So awesome. Number 2 question I have, what is the one thing that you're most proud of at Razorpay that nobody knows of?
I think, like I said, what I'm most proud of Razorpay was the entire payment pages product that I launched, right? I think a hack turning into a product contributing to 5-6% of the company's revenue, I think nobody has heard of, right? And I think I can proudly say that I think I'm still the only one in the company that has converted a product into a revenue making opportunity, right? So I think I think a lot of people are not aware of it. Shashank, who's the co-founder, is aware of it because he was I think one of my backers to kind of creatively build the case. But like I said, I think a lot of people know this, but super proud of this achievement.
Awesome. I want to just add this one element to this. I think maybe you guys have already internalized, but I wanted to kind of just highlight it, which is, there is this myth that people describe product management as a mini CEO role. Not in a lot of organizations. There is conflicting sort of point of view on that. Some people agree to that point of view. Some people don't agree to that point of view. I think there is no one size fits all. Every PM in every company is not a mini CEO, but I think at Razorpay, they actually are, because they own P&Ls, they actually start businesses and they run them as sort of revenue lines, right? So there are some companies where you actually have an opportunity to kind of, almost get trained to run an entire business line. So I think Razorpay is one of those. My third question is, what's your favorite product management book?
Unfortunately, I don't read books, but I do, listen to a lot of, podcasts. I think, so one of my favorite podcasts is Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman. So I think on my cab rides, you mostly see me on my earpod, and there's a very high chance I'm listening to that podcast.
Awesome. And last question I have is, what is one thing that is, unique about Razorpay as sort of the culture? Like, what makes Razorpay's culture unique?
Yeah, I think one thing that makes it unique across many companies I'm aware of, right, is the culture of transparency. So I think, and this largely stems from our founders, right? So this is not a bottom up. This is more a top down. So Shashank and Harshil, right? So our entire communication internally happens on Slack, right? Now, one of the things that they realize that if we truly want to give a sense of ownership to everybody, if you truly want to hire the right talent across all levels, across all functions, as the group, we need to be transparent to them on what's working, what's not working, where we should be going next, and where we think we have failed. Right, and which is why that stems the fact that all our Slack channels are public. there's absolutely very limited private channels. And largely the lens is, if we're talking about the company, about product, about business, about customers, that information is not confidential. And the fundamental question that if it's about any of these areas, why is this confidential? There's no reason confidential. And for you as anyone to request a private channel, you have to really build the case on why it requires a private channel. Because if you're talking about people, then why can't it be in a meeting? Why does it have to be on Slack? If you're talking about a customer, then why can't you talk to the customer directly, right? Why does it have to be on a Slack private channel? So Razorpay believes in the culture of transparency. In fact, and they act on it as well, right? So before every funding announcement that's public, the company gets to know 2 weeks ahead of time. And the company does really well to hide it so that the media doesn't know it, right? Any acquisition happens, we get to know it at least 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time. Any bad news that's about to go in the PR as well, we get to know it 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time, right? So the founders act on it as well. And I think that culture of transparency, I think, is a big reason why it really drives that sense of ownership. Everybody that, it's okay, right? We're all in it on good things. We're all in it when things go wrong. And I think that makes Razorpay very different org compared to many of the orgs that I've spoken about or discussed with my colleagues, mentors, or peers.